Hey everyone, welcome back to day 8 of my Christmas Advent calendar. I got another white story from Best of Redditor updates, and trust me, this one is unbelievable. My 27 female best friend, 26 female, turns out to be crazy and is ruining my wedding. Trigger warnings, mention of death of loved ones, infidelity, grief, possible mental health struggles. Some background info about this girl, let's call her Jess. At this point in her life, she's kind of a hot mess. She's one of those people who airs everything on Facebook, who has a new love of my life every month and a new best friend every few months. Her relationships and friendships usually end terribly, with both sides hating each other. How did I become being her best friend? Well, she hasn't always been this way. She was relatively normal 5 years ago when I met her, save for the normal early 20s drama. But in the last 2 years, she lost her mom to cancer and her grandpa to old age, and she doesn't have any other family. She dropped out of school and found out her boyfriend at the time was cheating on her. After the breakup, I was acting like a shoulder to cry on, since she had pretty much hit rock bottom. A few months later, she was telling everyone how close we were and started tagging me as her best friend. That is a lot for one person to go through. It's good that she at least could count on you. A few months ago, I got engaged. Congratulations, bestie. Unbeknownst to me, she started telling everyone she was my maid of honor, even though I've always planned on making my sister my maid of honor. But this was right after Jess' mom had died, so I just improvised and said I would have 2 maid of honors. It's still not what I would have liked, but literally I couldn't bring myself to tell this poor girl I don't consider her my best friend. That was my first mistake. It was such a kind act from you to decide that you would have 2 maid of honors. Sometimes trying to be nice is the thing that lets the crazy take over. About a month after I got engaged, she met a guy. 2 weeks later, she was engaged. A week later, she was married. Whoa, hold on for a second. So you want to tell me that she met a guy and a month later she was married to him? Moving that fast maybe seemed romantic, but it's also a huge red flag. She doesn't really have time to think this through, and spoiler alert, that will cause a lot of issues later. A month later, she was divorced, separated. I don't know if it's legal yet. I don't know if anything was legal, but she changed her last name and is still going by that, so I'm guessing it was legal. A month later, divorced, or maybe not. Honestly, who can keep up? It took longer for the administration office to send my diploma after I finished university. Jesus Christ. Ever since the divorce, my own wedding planning has become unbearable. She is constantly telling me how marriage doesn't work, love can save things, etc., etc., and criticizes how much I'm spending on my wedding when she had hers for a few hundred Vegas wedding. It's gotten to the point where she's rude to vendors I'm meeting with, but she gets really upset when I don't take her to meetings since she's the maid of honor. This so-called friend is not acting like a friend at all. I can understand that she went through so much, but this is your wedding and the only opinion it matters is yours. She is weaponizing the maid of honor role to insert herself into every decision made about the planning. But this is not about helping, it is about keeping the control. At this point, OP really needs to set firm boundaries. Also, reconsider her friend's position entirely in the wedding. So I am at the point where I just want to cut her out of the wedding, like I should have done it in the first place. That is completely understandable, OP. Planning a wedding is super stressful from the first place. However, when I confessed this to a mutual friend, my friend let me know to be careful because Jess can be really vindictive. When she found out her ex from a few years ago was getting married, she tried to contact the bride and tell her he was cheating on her. He wasn't. One of her last besties was fired from her job because Jess made multiple email accounts and regularly contacted customer service complaining about her. And since she knows so much info about my wedding already, I am terrified that she somehow tried to sabotage it. At this moment, she is trying to sabotage it from the inside. So basically, I don't know what to do at this point. I feel like this wedding is getting away from me, but I also don't know if it would be less painful to keep her a part of it because it would save me all the drama. I don't know what she's capable of, so I'm really worried that she somehow make everything harder for me if I don't just grin and bear it. Help. Opie, you don't owe Jess a role in your wedding, especially when she can create so much chaos when she's in it. I think keeping her in the wedding is more dangerous than cutting her out. What you can do is letting know the vendors what's going on, ask them to contact only you or the official planner, maybe set up some passwords with the vendors. That could save you from if she would try to call them and cancel things. Yes, there might be drama, but letting her to stay in the wedding gives her the chance to actively sabotage it. Because this is the best of Redditor updates, we have some relevant comments from Redditors and some answers from OP for these questions. We're gonna go through to see these before we read the update. To add, it might be a good idea to have passwords with your vendors to confirm your identity. And OP is answering to that. Thank you for the advice. I was actually considering the passwords thing, but I don't know if that's taking things too far. No, that would be something really easy to set up and wouldn't hurt anyone. It's not a dramatic thing to do at all, especially if you suspect that someone would sabotage your wedding. I guess I'm kind of worried about vendors resenting me for being high maintenance. Bestie, you don't have to worry about that. Vendors see crazy stuff. They are working in the wedding industry. They probably have to set up passwords more than you would think. But I hear about bridezillas, momzillas, in-lawzillas all the time, so hopefully this isn't the worst they've seen. You shouldn't worry about that. The goal is that you and your fiancé have the day you dreamed of. Being a little extra cautious don't hurt anyone. Jesus, tell her, Jess, you know him for 3 weeks before you married him. What in the ever-looking frig did you think was going to happen? If I've been only seeing a girl for 3 weeks, I won't even poop with her in a half-mile radius. Opie's answer, seriously, the week before the wedding was everyone kindly saying, you sure? You've known him an awfully short time, and her responding, everyone's jealous because they can't be us. Jess, don't worry, we don't want to be you. Sounds like you need to have a very uncomfortable talk with this girl. Tell her what you told us here and let her know her negative attitude has no place in planning your wedding. You are sorry things aren't working out for her, but she's not allowed to pile this stuff on you. Tell her that you cannot have her as maid of honor, and since she seems to think so negatively about marriage, you wouldn't expect her to do this. Up to you if you even let her attend the wedding as a guest. Opie's answer. Oh my god, I haven't even thought about explaining how her negative attitude towards marriage could be the excuse for not having her in the wedding party. That sounds ridiculously logical, but I've been blinded by a flurry of crazy. Thank you. I think that comment was really helpful and honest, but I'm not sure if Jess could handle this type of communication. But we have an update, so we're gonna figure out what happened after. Update. Guys, this went full-blown crazy. That's not a good start. Before I could have a conversation with Jess, she confronted me about it. Apparently, the mutual I confided in let the whole story leak, and the twisted, more dramatic version made its way back to Jess. Bestie, this just shows that Jess is not the only problem here. I wish you would have that conversation with someone else you could really trust. But go on. It was an hour or two of me trying to explain to Jess in a somewhat calm manner that I felt she had overstepped her boundaries, and it was really taking a mental toll on me, while she yelled about what a terrible friend I was, and how she tried to putting all of her faith in the wrong people, and how she was tired of trying her best to be a good maid of honor. Then this is a perfect situation for everyone. You don't want her to be a maid of honor, and she's tired of being one. I made the mistake of pointing out that I had never asked her to be my maid of honor in the first place, and she responded with, well, then I must be delusional. The first step is admitting you have a problem, so progress? For sure, she had a lot of going on. We can all admit that. But at the same time, she was doing too much. She could have been a friend celebrating with you, but she needed to take over. I guess she just wanted to compensate after how things went for her. Of course, I'm not making an excuse for her. I'm just looking at the whole picture. Needless to say, we aren't on speaking terms. Shortly after that, I took all of your advice and called all of my wedding vendors and let them know that my fiancé and I were going to be the only people making decisions and set up a confirmation word with them. Apparently, this stuff happens a lot because nobody even asked why. I accidentally forgot to contact the bakery making our cake, but luckily they called me and asked if I was certain I wanted to cancel the wedding cake. Apparently, there was a voicemail left on their machine. Wonder how that happened. Here's where things get really nuts. Things are just gonna get nuts from now on. Okay, bestie, lay it on me. A few weeks after our blow up, she apparently met some guy who is the love of her life. A few weeks after that, they are engaged. I can't make this stuff up. She did it again. Then our mutual friends get invitations for her wedding, which is the same date as mine. But since they had RSVP'd for my wedding, a lot of them couldn't make it. Oh my god, she is batshit crazy. I cannot believe that she would do something like that. I don't even believe she's getting married for real. She's just doing it for the plot. She would be a great Disney villain. A few days before her wedding, they have to cancel because he's already married. And you know what? So is she. I guess she never got officially divorced from the first quickie wedding. So as far as I know, no wedding actually happened. I have no idea if they still plan to. I'm just glad to be away from this circus. But anyways, I got married a few weeks ago, everything was wonderful, the weather was great, and everyone present was a joy to be around. Except maybe my uncle, who gets a little too dancey when he's drunk, but you know, family. I'm so glad that you had your happy day. The story was a real roller coaster, but I'm glad it ended like this. Thank you to everyone who responded, and to everyone letting me know I'm not helping matters by going with the flow. I will be actively practicing caution when making friends by running from crazy and not confronting it. Let's see the relevant comments after this update. Anyone else think mutual friend is kind of bad? She was the one who told OP to be careful about Jess, yet she decided it would be a good idea to blab about what OP told her, knowing full well it would get back to Jess. Now, instead of telling Jess on her own terms, OP got ambushed instead. Exactly, that's why I said Jess is not the only problem in this friend group. And I wish OP would have talked about this with someone she can trust more, like her sister. OP's answer, I actually asked her about it a few days after the blow up. Her defense was that she didn't actually tell Jess. She told another mutual friend of ours, who told someone else, who told someone else, who told Jess. So technically, it wasn't her fault. Of course it's her fault. The fact that she cannot even recognize it. I just want to roll my eyes. She should have stayed silent about it, not running to another friend and gossip. That's what created the whole situation. Instead of pushing the blame to someone else, she should have apologized to you. Which is how, the time it got to Jess, the story was somewhere along the lines of, oh my god, the bride is telling everyone you are ruining her life and sabotaging the wedding. All of us met at work, we all worked at the same restaurant long ago, and it was always a drama-filled place. A lot of the same people still work there and still thrive off of the drama. I'm thinking it's time for me to move on from the specific crowd. Cliques are fun in middle school. In your 20s, not so much. At the end of the day, you learned so much from this experience, so it was useful. I will be actively practicing caution when making friends by running from crazy and not confronting it. I'd like to nominate the first candidate for your new policy. The mutual friend who somehow let the story leak and repeated to Jess a twisted, more dramatic version of what you had confided in her. We are on to the mutual friend with the commenters. OP's answer, I decided to distance myself from that crowd. We are in different points in our lives and I just don't find the gossiping all that fun. My real besties from high school who were all bridesmaids have all grown up and would have never pulled this stuff. I bet Jess was never actually getting married this time. It was just a plot to ensure at least some of your friends didn't make your wedding. This is exactly what I thought too. We are getting the same vibes with some of the commenters here. I suspect that as well, but since she's done it before, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually went through with it. I'm assuming they were both trying to get divorced before the wedding and realized they wouldn't be able to in time because, some stuff takes time and can't be erased in a jiffy. So they couldn't do it. I get the feeling this guy is either really stupid or just crazy as she is, so at least they find each other. I hope you enjoyed today's story as much as I did. If you did, please subscribe and see you tomorrow.